So I think we had a fantastic demo from Sumentu and discussion points both from Anuj and Dhirenga. So I will quickly run into the crux of things. And I'll start with you, Srinivas. You are part of the largest mutual fund house in India currently. Look, I think we all know that the mutual fund investor base has been increasing dramatically, but it's still minuscule, right? At about 3.5 CR. If you take as a percentage of population, we lag behind. Forget about Western economies, even the other economies. Now, it's been a stated goal, both of AMFI as well as the regulator, that you need to have much higher penetration. My question would be, how can account aggregator help achieve this?
Yeah, thank you, Anish, and thank you, Anuj, and everyone to invite us to this beautiful conference. I would say Shimla because of the temperature. But having said that, I think the question is very, very important, right? For years, the mutual fund industry has been saying that we will add millions and millions of customers. Somewhere we are stuck at that number of 2 crore plus investor base, which I think is shameful for the amount of wealth the industry has been able to create to millions of investors. The problem exists in two levels. I think first level obviously is mutual fund as a literacy. I think that's a bigger issue that the industry is addressing through mutual funds IEA and other campaigns, that is the distribution communities. The second is access. I think in the larger towns and larger metros, people with access to both distribution and technology, this has been able to achieve. I think a bigger revolution will come, the way UPI adoption happened, is when something like AA platform becomes a reality. Question today is, we really are not able to articulate how some very small thing of data portability or data transparency can make a big difference. One of the use cases when Somanthi was talking about, and I spoke to him last week, is just the data fill itself. Today our big issue is we need to, with KYC, even to do that KYC record, there's a data fill, right? There's a physical form fill. All of this capability is possible if the front-end fintechs, wealth managers, banks are able to integrate the AA platform data. And at every level, the friction is reduced, right? The more you reduce the friction, the better. One other use case again, which we've not really talked about, is the aggregate view of the portfolio doesn't have to be for wealthy customers. It can happen for the smallest of small investors. Your ability to say, have you got enough savings to protect your long-term requirement? Today, the conversation is actually very moral, right? When somebody sits saying, you invest kar lo, aisa mil jayega. Now you can do that through data. Now you can do that through plans. And you can do that through a much cheap mechanism, right? Even in a local language if you want. So I think there will be thousands of use cases that will come up, which will take the industry penetration to the next level. Apart from the fact, transparency and many other things that we talked about. Access to information is the next big, next big opportunity for the industry. And that's when you will see this 2 crore, 2.5 crore folio or PAN base moving to something like a 20 crore plus PAN basis.
Yeah, that actually leads me to the next question, Nitin. So right now we have this term called wealth management, which obviously implies that only the wealthy can afford these services. I mean, as an ex-RIA myself, my excitement about aggregator is that, account aggregator is that this can truly democratize wealth management into practically, and that's why we specifically use the word PF instead of wealth management. And that, like Srinivas said, can be the driver for further penetration. How do you see this as a wealth management?
So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. See, the way I look at it is in two kind of steps, right? First, as Shanaz talked about, it's about access. If you look at the example, right, when you talk about 100 million users, there are 290 million LIC policy holders. We are still imagining that we will reach 100 million, right? We're not talking about 300 million. Why did those guys buy a LIC policy? Because it was accessible. And I think that access problem is largely being taken care by the whole online KYC, Aadhaar based KYC, Aadhaar by implemented, and that has been the driver of the growth in the last few years. The next level of problem, which is basically going to drive more adoption, is what I call awareness. So now the access is there, but the end investor needs to know what are the options in front of them. Okay, you have LIC policy, you have FD, but there is a mutual fund, there is say a debt fund, there is something else. They need to have that option. For that, they need to know what is their current situation, how much cash they have, what kind of savings they are making, how much can they invest, what are the pros and cons of each investment. And the problem with being a wealth manager, and especially a digital wealth manager, is very rarely the advice is relevant. When the user comes to a platform, when we give an advice, and with full good intention, we only give advice on what data we have. I can only tell him, say someone comes with certain age profile, with certain markers, I tell him, okay, invest, say 40% equity, 60% debt. He may be having a big portfolio in EPF, and the first reaction of that user is, the platform is waste. Digital wealth manager doesn't know anything. The problem with this is being relevant. And this is what the AA will help us achieve. AA will give us the relevant data, which will mean the advice will be effective. And once the advice is effective, then you will see the users coming back again and again for the advice. Then you will see the adoption happening, and with this technology-driven advisory, we can reach process, we can reach that, because we can solve both the access problem and the awareness problem. I will give you an example. Forget wealth management, right? Term insurance. If I want to buy term insurance today, obviously Policy Bazaar is there, but how much term insurance should I buy? No one has a good answer for that, because it's very personal thing, and there are a lot of theories on it, like how do you calculate stuff, right? You can do an income replacement method, you can do human life value approach to figure out how much term insurance one person should buy. But for all that, you need their income data, their current liabilities, current assets. If I can know that, okay, like I need to buy 50 lakh worth of term insurance and these are the 5 options, it's much more effective. And when you drive those kind of user experience enabled by the AI ecosystem, that's when you will see the adoption increasing substantially.
Yeah, I think that brings me to Mahesh. Mahesh, Sahamadi as the collective of account aggregators have been at the forefront of getting the FIPs onboarded, right? As Anuj mentioned and Dhirendra mentioned, we saw some initial hesitation from the incumbents, which is now through nudges it's getting covered. But there are also, the other set of FIPs to come on board. How do you intend to, as the collective of account aggregators, how are you intending to, fast track this FIP onboarding? Because otherwise, it kind of becomes a chicken and egg scenario. As Anuj mentioned, if 2 of your bank accounts or your stock market data is not available, that 360-degree view which Nitin talked about, we will not be able to provide as an account aggregator. How are we planning to achieve that?
So if you say actually, we have worked for almost 3 full years, to reach where we are today. And you will see by in another 24 hours, you will see all the public sector banks will be in FID, because the government had informed by the end of July, you have to be live. So, that itself is actually a very big milestone. Now, of the 4 sectors that we see, the banking, insurance, investment, you would all agree the highest penetration is actually of banking. So it was very important, first we ensured that the banking data is actually there, as an FI. So according to me, we are almost there. Yeah, private banks, they came like, by January of this year, everybody was there, and now, we have all the 12 public sector banks. While we heard that, like, now we have only the singly held account and so accounts are there, but a journey has started. So now we will engage with each bank and ensure that, all kinds of accounts will go live. Then now we are focusing on everybody else. Now you will see another 8 weeks or 12 weeks, I would think, your investment data will be there. So CDSL, NSDL, few insurance companies are already affected. Okay, so like we have to go one by one, but because the banking data now has gone live, in our opinion, everybody else.
Yeah, I think that 24-hour deadline is very pleasing to hear for all of us. So Bharat, I think that's a natural corollary for you. So you lead ICICI Securities, which is one of the largest brokerages, which also has one of the largest mutual fund distribution business. Now we've seen that over the last 5-6 years, financialization of savings has been a key trend in India. For a long time, financial savings was always below 50%. Of late, we've moved over that, and it's a consistent trend. But the data, unfortunately, is still being kept in silos, and which is what account aggregator is supposed to do. As a business which straddles both, the stocks, brokerages, and mutual fund, how do you see you can add value to the customer offering? Again, to increase the penetration, increase the quality of the advice, and further, benefit the population.
Thank you. So first, thanks for inviting me on this panel. And see, if you see my history, 22 years, I've been an asset allocator, fund manager, wealth manager is only the last part of my journey. So most of my life, actually, I've been an investor. And we follow a philosophy, right? Whether it is a stock, whether it is anything, we recommend what we can recommend to our friends and family. And why do you use the word that what you should recommend, what you can recommend to your friends and family, is that you will not advise something which you don't think that it is appropriate for the client. Now, that case may not be possible for today because, as you rightly mentioned, lack of information, lack of knowledge, and what we do as a wealth manager. So we run a largest wealth management practice. We manage 2.5 lakh crore of clients' money today, along with our broking business. So we run large wealth management practice. The beauty of AA, and which is really exciting, is all about is that I will be able to provide him a right advice, and what he mentioned. And what is important is like, see, how do you manage money, right? If you step in and just take a backseat and say, okay, if it's my own money, how I'm going to manage it? I need to know exactly where my money is, okay? What is the purpose of my money, okay? And I always use this, again, keep on using these simple terms because I feel that these terms stays back in your memory. It's like, if you don't have a goals, if you don't have a purpose, if you don't define why do you need money, where do you want money, you're like a headless chicken. You don't know and you'll keep on hitting. Somebody said, okay, this fund is doing great, buy that. Tomorrow, oh boss, it's been not performing for last 1 year, just dump it and buy that, okay? Oh, banks are doing great, let's go and buy a banking stock. Tomorrow, oh shit, this something has happened and now banks are not doing, let's go and IT, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're holding an IT company with a 60p multiple. It's like a headless chicken, right? You first don't even know whether you really have the money, right? And it's a blessing, right? It's a best form of resource you can have. And how do you really use it, right? It can be your very good source of second income. It can be a great value to your friend and families because that's the way they can, bank on you for, their needs, their requirements, future security. Everything depends on this part of your savings, right? And as a wealth manager, as a wealth advisor, as an RIA, whatever form you use it, right? I can only provide you a good information if I know anything and everything about you. And you know, even if you go to the best of the doctor, right? And again, I'm using this simple term. Even if you go to the best of the doctor, he will never come and say, oh great, you come in, okay, take this tablet and go away. He will sit with you, he will discuss with you, he will understand your problem. He will understand and he will ask you to take 10 reports. He will go through your reports, figuring out what is wrong with you, and then he will give you or prescribe you a medicine, right? So, as similarly for a wealth guy or a manager, he just can't tell you, okay, like we mentioned, okay, 60-40 is good for you, 40-20 is good for you, okay, this market is great, let's do this, large cap is better than small cap, and that's all bullshit. Ultimately, I need to know, why do you need money? What is the purpose of your money? How much risk appetite you have, okay? Assessment of risk appetite by an individual is 99% incorrect, okay? I'm telling you, you pick up anybody, ask him 7 questions, he will give you an answer, you put it into your those standard metrics, and you will come to know this guy is XYZ. And then you just ask him without this, what is your risk appetite, he will see it. 99%, I'm not saying this one. The question is perceived risk appetite and actual risk appetite is materially different. Okay? And again, a very simple thing. How do we really define what is your risk-taking capability is the risk at which you can sleep with peace, right? It's not what you believe you can take. If you take a risk, you sleep and tonight is a FOMC meeting and you wake up at 12 o'clock to figure out what happened in FOMC, it means that was not your risk-taking ability. You should not get up. If you get up, it's gone. So it's very difficult, right? It's because I'm in a trader, proprietary trader, investor, fund manager, $10 billion, 5 crore PVPP, you will die, right? 10 basis point market move, you lost 50 crore. That's it, right? You get up and 50 crores is off your books. So it's very important, the patience, and that's why platform like Account Aggregator makes it even really exciting, is that finally we will have everything possible in front of us, in front of the client. He can take an informed decision. He can make a right decision. And I think that itself is going to make a lot of difference in terms of finalization or financialization of savings, right? Why do you need all this? Because this is the only way you will know why are you doing it, how is going to help you, and you will do a right decision. A lot of us do real estate. Why do you do real estate? It's just because the market price are not available. It is in front of you. You see it, right? But that may not be the best possible solution for you. But as you rightly mentioned, and I think panelists has covered most of it, is that you need to know the options. You need to know what is the best option. And till you are able to take an informed decision, it will not happen. So in my opinion, I think the financialization and the fact that you can adopt to more innovative products, and I give it to the range, is that you really don't even know what are you going to do with this information. I'm telling you, the product innovation will be in a different league. US, UK, and all the, you will say they are third world. You give me account aggregator with full information, I'll tell you what kind of product you can create. They are beyond your imagination. Today when I, as a product manager, I had the product team, I had the segment team, I had the private wealth team, and when I talk to my guys and I said, 90% of the time our thought process just gets answered. Data ही है. मैं इसके आगे करूँगा कैसे? How I am going to do this? And we just kill the idea. Because there's no data. There's no way to get a data. Provident fund data, EPFO data, fixed deposit data. How will I get that data and give them a good product? It will be differently. I'm telling you, if we are the one who will get this, and if it's really work, you will see that the entire innovation of financial planning will be in India, nowhere else in the world.
Absolutely, I think starting with UPI and now with AA, at least in terms of fintech innovation, I think India has definitely led the world. So that leads me to next question, Srinivas. So a lot of questions by Dhirendra about the framework is suitable for any data exchange, be it financial or non-financial. But even if you are to stick to financial database, to fulfill all the requirement of this 360-degree evaluation. You need, like Bharat said, PF data, EPFO data, PPF data, ENPS data, etc., ITR, GST, etc. You've been at the forefront of advocating both with the regulator and with the ministry. Where do you think we are, and what's the kind of expected timeline for all this data to kind of come into accountability?
I think
we won't hold you to it.
No, I don't have any crystal ball in front of me to predict, but I can tell a few things. I think there is chicken and egg issue because, and I think it's a fantastic question people asked, right? When will all this come? When will the traction happen? Go back to UPI. And in India, one of the good things is all these artifacts, all these infrastructures have been built on an of customer first kind of an approach, right? If we've not built it saying industry needs it, let's give it to them. It's the end users have been kept in mind. Another thing that we've done is there is no pressure, whether it's account aggregator or even UPI. I don't know if you know UPI in the initial days, and I used to go there and say my bank is missing for a very long period of time. But just imagine today, can you live with, can a bank ever say I won't be part of that? I think it's a question of traction. 300 million accounts are now on EA. I don't know, he doesn't talk about it, but it will be a billion soon, right? 450 million of them comes from SBI loans, right? So what I'm trying to say is, when you have a billion plus accounts of bank on one single platform, another 20, 30, 40 million security markets data, another 20, 30, 40 million insurance data. This is a huge amount of data that will all drive all this innovation. Now, what we get data which is allied around it, whether EPFO, PPF, I think it's a part of the process. If you look at the way this got framed, while RBI is the principal regulator, all the regulated entities, including PFRDA, IRDA, have been part of this. So I don't see reasons for this not to come. One good thing that's happening is that set of data was not standardized. Banks' set of data was standardized, mutual fund was standardized, security markets, in fact, security markets has been very good, right? We've always had it. But for EPFO and others, it took time. Today they are standardized. Today, if you go to your Udan app, you can get your EPFO data. So getting data of EPFO is not a big thing. It's now integration, it's the consent, it's regulatory framework, all of that stuff. And I'm assuming it will come. Let's not overthink this through. Today there is already, as I said, a billion plus accounts would be available very soon. You will see thousands. I just did a fintech workshop with some of them last week. And I'm telling you, I don't want to say their ideas. People have got phenomenal ideas on what they want to do on this platform. And this is just fintechs, but I'm saying even traditional players, banks, they will start doing a lot with this data. I think data is a good enabler, and when data starts coming in, and for me, it's not just the one view. One of the big things we make up of this is the one view. I think one view is a killer feature, right? But beyond one view, just the ease is the ability to get data, ability to do something with data. Take this one view or do something with that one view. These are some such stuff which will come up in coming days, which are phenomenal. My view is that this is a portability in a different way. It's not like that I can move providers, but I can still add value by knowing what I have, right? And that's what is going to come up. And for me, it's natural to see other sets of financial data, at least investment data, coming as part of this. There is already a good amount of discussions with all the providers. Some of them, like NPS and all, are already on board, but some of the other set of data will come on board. Hopefully, we will have non-financial data also coming on board in coming days to make it much more powerful. Right now, I think we have our hands full. We have a lot to actually get this.
Absolutely, and Mahesh, that brings the question of data security, privacy, potential misuse of data. Dhirendra rightfully mentioned that. How are we, as a Samati, how are we planning for it?
See, in a way, I think the way it is entire, the thing has started is good that only the ones who are regulated are allowed to participate. So, in my opinion, that is good. And I think with every regulator now, you do have some rules about the how to say data governance. It's already there. But what we plan to do is we want to introduce a lot more of certification frameworks in this area, okay, to ensure that how they are accessing the data after the FIU has actually got the data. You know, is it being used for the right thing or not? And it would be good if we are able to build what we call something like a trust score for each FIU, because whatever we do, it is not for the AAFIP or FIU. We are doing everything for the end citizen. It is for the interest. When I heard about why in India so many people have the policy with LIC, it is about the trust, because they know that LIC is there. It's not anybody else. So what we are doing now is, the plans have started already to think about, what are the kinds of frauds which can occur in AI. So all that planning we need to do now and not when things come big, because you will see within a year or two, this entire thing will scale. So, and of course, for us to implement all of this, obviously we require actually the sponsorship. I had to actually plug that in because only when people sponsor, we are able to do, and thanks to CAMS, for this year and the previous year, we have been very good in actually sponsoring our projects.
Just quickly add, I think this is hotly debated subject of misuse of data. I think Dhirendra kind of touched it. It's so important, right? It is a global challenge, and today technology exists, which of course not available at scale, for you to stop the misuse. There are frameworks available for how this data at a stored level, usage level can be used. I'm sure some of these things will come from a governance angle, the data security angle, and of course we will implement at different regulatory angles. So I don't see today in a physical world it's more dangerous. When you have sheets of data available, copies of data available, then you don't know what misuse is happening. When the data is part of an ecosystem and flow, then I think potential solutions are available for you to see how it's. So I guess because these discussions are, you see a lot of articles, writing, talk about it, and there is real problem also. People have misused data. So I think there is solution for some of these things. In coming days you will see. I just wanted to touch upon that. But already there is thinking, not just in Sahamati or account aggregator, at the government level, there is a thinking on how this needs to be solved.
Just I'll add why I think we both are not the one who's been asked, but it's something which you just can't leave it. See, today data is getting used, but it is getting used without your consent, without your knowledge. Okay? And I think you made it right. A lot of businesses has been built on that data without even knowing that your data is getting used. And I think a product like this, with the right framework, with right architectures, with right security, and I think we should spend a lot of money on this security rather than anything else. And I think with the government policies to make sure that yes, data is available, but only to the rightful guys. And that will also most probably will help us move away from unauthorized use of data. So today data is getting used. Everything is known, right? That I'm sure you might have seen that ad, right? The Google guy ad, right? He calls up the guy and says, sir, which pizza? And then he says, okay, this side, this is your standard pizza. But says, sir, you don't order this. So somebody is anyway using all your data. It's just that you don't know it. And I'm very happy that ultimately we'll have a authenticated, secure, and most important, trustworthy data center to use it. And most probably with the policies, we'll make sure that nobody else uses the data, and which is ultimately a personal data of an individual.
Thank you.
This question was not asked, and somebody asked this question last week. Mahesh actually answered it. Data in account aggregator framework can only be used by an accredited, regulated entity. Non-regulated entity will not get access to the data. So, at least to that extent, the recourse is very good. That's
Absolutely. And I'm sure the audience would have some questions as well, but unfortunately we are freezing here. Yeah. So I'm sure, you can ask questions during the next session. We're having cocktails and dinner as well. So thanks a lot, gentlemen. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much for having us.
And Mahesh, we will hold you to the 24-hour deadline.
So I'll be gone home.
He will hold the government.
Thank you.